Hello everyone. Today we're going to be presenting Emergent Writing Instruction by Nina Fasullo, Misra Howard, and Celeste Cañete. Emergent writing is young children's first attempts at the writing process. Children as young as 2 years old begin to imitate the act of writing by creating drawings and symbolic markings that represent their thoughts and ideas. Why is this important in early childhood education? Children's emergent writing in kindergarten predicts later literacy skills, including decoding, spelling, reading comprehension in first grade, and spelling in second grade. Teachers play an important role in the development of 3 to 5 years old emergent writing by encouraging children to communicate their thoughts and record their ideas. Writing is a critical activity that should be integrated into young children's learning environment. These are some of the best practices for emergent writing instruction that we found in our research. Plan whole group lessons and individual writing sessions. Explicitly model writing, such as think out loud strategy in whole group lessons. Let students repeat words, sentences, sounds, or letters to themselves as they write. Accept all forms of writing, in this case, invent and spelling. Encourage children to read what they write. Make writing opportunities meaningful. Have writing materials in all centers. And display theme-related words in the writing center. Let children write on a variety of surfaces such as chalkboards, dry erase boards, etc. Make writing a way to connect with families and use technology to support writing. Also, write journals on a daily basis and choose their own topics. Use large paper on an easel to write a story so that children can see their teacher model letter formation, directionality, spacing, etc. Verbally remind children to use writing in their classroom activities and provide appropriate writing instruction. So in my lesson plan, I included a strategy to write on a journal. This strategy was implemented because children are more motivated to write when it is based on their own experiences and knowledge. The author from my research said that when children choose their own topics, they're not overwhelmed by having to both think of something to write about and remember to use appropriate mechanics or accurate spelling. This is more to encourage children to write whatever it comes to their minds and that writing has a meaning.
Other valuable practices to help emergent writers are encouraging students to draw and to offer a variety of writing tools in the classroom. What we as teachers oftentimes see is that young students enjoy drawing people, places, or things that are valuable and personal to them. Research suggests that drawing can be an effective strategy for emergent writers to first organize their ideas. Their drawings can then later be studied to form their sentences. Drawing also acts as a process to develop new vocabulary whenever labeling is involved. To further encourage writing and drawing, teachers must provide various writing tools such as markers, pens, chalk, etc. to motivate their students to frequently write and draw. Additional best practices relate to developing authentic lesson plans that reflect student interests, their home/community, and school life. A few examples of authentic writing opportunities would be letters to families, friends, school staff, writing classroom lists, or writing invitations. In order to make these lessons effective for all students, including dual language learners, teachers should reach out to families and ask what literacy materials are in their homes and communities, and what language it is in, what sort of print can be seen, and how writing is used in their communities. It is important to keep in mind the overall social emotional environment of one's classroom. The classroom can either negatively or positively impact students' growth and performance depending on a teacher's attitude and tone. Therefore, it is the teacher's role to create a warm and encouraging relationship with students, as this will build their self-esteem, social skills, and their overall motivation to write. Another key practice is for the teacher to set expectations for emergent writers to try and succeed. Here are some ways teachers can support expectations and success. The first way is to initially place emphasis and highlight a student's writing process and effort instead of the outcome. This isn't to completely ignore the written result, but for students to practice the steps of writing as they are beginning to learn the skill. The next method is to provide reasonable and fair feedback to the student's written work. Praise should be given based on the child's efforts, and critique should be related to elements within the child's control. Lastly, writing activities should be challenging yet doable to develop their students' self-efficacy. In my lesson plan, I did a shared writing activity in which I read the popular nursery rhyme Little Miss Muffet to the class. In this lesson, students would look at a blank picture diagram of Little Miss Muffet and work as a class to label the items in the diagram. The children would later create their own nursery rhyme and picture diagram for their independent practice. What I used as a strategy for this lesson was the incorporation of a picture diagram that would be used to label. Word study strategies such as segmentation of sounds in a word and clapping each sound to spell the objects being labeled were also used.
Reading and writing go hand in hand, so the more children read, the better writers they will be, and the more children write, the better readers they will be. These two quotations explain this concept a little bit more in depth, but essentially what it's saying is teachers should not prioritize reading over writing or writing over reading. Instead, both skills should be taught, and in turn, both skills will be enhanced. Speaking to students is one of the best ways to engage them in writing, but it is also important to keep in mind the student's own proximal development as well as the gradual release model when teaching writing. During writing related tasks, students tend to benefit most when there is a teacher sitting next to them guiding their way through the task. Teachers can use scaffolds such as alphabet charts and labels, and students can use their own peers as a support system as well. Scaffolds serve as a tool to get students to the point where they can perform the task independently. A technique called on the spot conferencing and publishing is a great way to get emergent writers excited about writing. On the spot conferencing and publishing is a scaffolding support system that gets emergent writers comfortable with concepts of print as well as the writing process in general. And eventually, students will be able to write independently. But it is also important to know that writers, especially emergent writers, need daily support from the teacher and daily practice in order to become proficient writers. Here is a 6-step process that teachers can use in their classroom to support emergent writers. The stages are the drawing stage, the phonics-based spelling stage, the mini lesson stage, the large group lesson stage, the mini sharing stage, and the editing and publishing stage. So the drawing stage is essentially where the students scribble or draw to represent their thinking and ideas. And then we proceed into the phonics-based spelling stage, in which the teacher encourages the student to listen to the words and determine the sounds that they hear, and then based on what they hear, they write the word. And then the mini lesson stage is where the teacher works one-on-one with the student and focuses more on conventions like punctuation, grammar, and word spacing. So this goes hand in hand with understanding concepts of print. The teacher goes over the idea that we write left to right, that we add spaces in between our words, and so on. And then the large group lesson is where the students participate in an author's chair, in which 3 or 4 students share their writing with the group. And then we go into the mini sharing stage where students who were unable to participate in the author's chair get to share their writing with a buddy. So it gives students who an opportunity to share their writing even if they were not able to share it to the whole class. And then finally, the editing and publishing stage is where the students look over their writing and fix any little errors that they may find and get it ready for publication. Two findings about emergent writing are spelling development and social cultural aspects. Spelling development shows that children's writing evolves from scribbles and drawings, such as the drawing stage mentioned on the previous slide, to children writing individual letters, to children then stringing those letters together to make words. And then the social cultural aspect involves the idea that writing development begins very, very early on. So, to review, emergent writing development begins at a very young age. Teachers can support students in their development by providing time for them to scribble and play with the idea of writing. Most importantly, students need to have the opportunity to practice what they have learned, and teachers should make writing a priority in their classroom.